Chatting now with Jenni Carlson, sports columnist for the Oklahoman. It was a week ago, a little over a week ago, Jenni. I think you were there at Chesapeake Energy Arena, or at least the eyes of the world, as it turns out, by the end of the night. We're watching as the Utah Jazz and the Oklahoma City Thunder played. A lot has changed in the past week, right?
Oh man, it's hard to believe that it was just a week ago, Wednesday night, that game was stopped before it started. And it was only a couple days before that there was opening of spring football practices at Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, pro days for NFL hopefuls at both schools. OU's pro day was actually the Wednesday that Thunder game got postponed, and then ultimately the NBA season got postponed. It just seems like a world away that, we were so focused on things that now seem frivolous in a lot of ways. They will not be ultimately. We'll come back to the games and to the fun and to the distraction essentially of sport. But right now it just feels so long ago and far away. It's hard to believe it was just a little over a week ago.
I was chatting in a Slack channel last night or earlier this week saying, hey, I remember last year, I think it was Saturday, but that was one of the events that you wrote about on Saturday when we got word that the Oklahoma City Marathon was going to be postponed until early October. Just one of the many events. You mentioned the ones there, but also high school sports.
Yeah, lots being postponed, lots being canceled outright. The high school sports basketball tournaments were literally, I think, about 90 minutes away from tip-off when the Oklahoma Secondary School Activities Association decided that they were going to postpone those games, those tournaments. Obviously, in the days since, we've seen the State Board of Education decide to suspend school until the first part of April. So the OSSAA is still looking at ways to potentially get those tournaments played, but the when becomes a question, and obviously the where becomes a question, because the week that was canceled was the big week, was the big school, and the big week for the number of tournaments. We'd had the A and B tournaments that got played the weekend before, but 6A through 2A, which is 5 classes and then boys and girls. So you're talking about 10 tournaments, 10 sites, lots of games. So where those tournaments could potentially be played, venues, those sorts of things, obviously still very much a question, but it's not, the OSSAA has not said that they're giving it up just yet. The timing, though, will probably have to wait until we get the go-ahead on the academic year once again from the State Board of Education.
Speaking of events that aren't giving it up just yet, the IOC really hasn't announced what's going to happen in Japan, and I'm talking about the Olympics, the Summer Games scheduled for later this summer. You were among those for Gannett and the Oklahoman who are set to travel over there. Are you hearing anything from them?
Yeah, it's a very good question, and the IOC released a statement. I believe it was yesterday. Time seems to have warped here, so it may have been more than that days ago. But IOC saying that they're going to leave the games where they are for now. Obviously, this is a very fluid situation. We went from one day last week from the NCAA saying that they were going to play NCAA tournament games in empty arenas to the NCAA canceling not only winter sport championships but spring sport championships. So things can change pretty rapidly. But I think the biggest question mark as it relates to the Olympics, apart from the travel and the bringing together of people from all over the world at the games in Japan late July, early August, the bigger question right now is the preparation. You've got athletes all over the world who are trying to go to qualifying events, who are trying to go to Olympic trials, and frankly just trying to keep themselves in shape. And right now that's difficult. I wrote earlier this week about former OU gymnasts, men's gymnasts, who are they got shut out of their training gym. They had been training at the Viersen Center, which is the gymnastics center for OU men's and women's gymnastics, one of the best in the country, a great facility that is closed because OU is closed. And so they were forced to figure out what to do. One of the 4 Olympic hopefuls went to his home gym, but then that gym closed, so he was left in limbo in Texas. 3 others stayed, and they're working this week at Bart Conner Gymnastics Academy. Whether that's a long-term solution or not, they don't know. that's just one small snippet. You know, I think the big question becomes, can these athletes get prepared in a way that really honors the excellence of the Olympic Games? And I think that's a question that the IOC is going to have to continue to wrestle with in the coming weeks.
Another story, Alex Saucedo, a boxer, a fighter that you and I have covered over the past year, he had a fight coming up. That's been rescheduled. That's another aspect of that, is how do the athletes train and stay in shape. So what is the state of the sports landscape right now?
Yeah, very much just on pause right now. I mean, I think a lot of, you know, you mentioned, Dave, the Oklahoma City Memorial Marathon, you know, they've pushed back into October. October 4th is the date that they've picked to reschedule or to hold that event. So I think a lot of events trying to find alternate dates to do things and have more of a postponement and not a cancellation feel. And, you know, I think obviously when you're dealing with high school and college sports, there's, you know, those sports are built into academic years. So you're dealing with a little different challenge there as it relates to rescheduling. But when it comes to professional leagues or, you know, races, fights, whatever the case may be, those sorts of things could potentially get delayed and restarted or postponed and held at a later date. It's not going to be the same. But I think that's the reality that we're living with. You know, these are just times that are different, and we're just going to have to come to grips with the fact that what we would like to be the case isn't going to be the case for a while. So, you know, the hope is that, you know, the NBA can restart, that the NHL could restart. You know, Major League Baseball will eventually get going, get its season off and running. But, you know, I think those things are still very much to be determined.
And that all of us are healthy enough for those things to happen. You doing okay? Your family doing okay? How does a sports writer, columnist adjust to the reality of today?
Yeah, it's weird, you know, when I look at the calendar and I still see those games I had scheduled, you know, written down. Thunder, you know, I think they were supposed to maybe be in Atlanta tonight, you know, which it seems like, again, so long ago that those were things that were going to happen. So, yeah, it's been an adjustment. I've been enjoying the fact that some of the networks have decided to share some classic games of the past, and I think the Thunder has done that on Fox Sports Oklahoma. They've shown some great games from this season, which is fun to get to see some of those college games that, you know, we've come to reminisce about over the years. Oklahoma's game at Kansas from the Buddy Hield Final Four year was on a few years ago. So even though you know what's going to happen, watching those again is fun because there's so many things you forget. So I've enjoyed that, but you know, just on a personal level, just trying to get outside. I know it's been tough in Oklahoma. Oklahomans, I feel for you because this weather has not been great. It definitely has added to the cooped up nature of things right now. But, you know, getting outside, going for walks, bike ride with the kid, going for the runs when I can, you know, still trying to get out. Obviously, social distance from anybody when it comes to getting out and running and doing those sorts of things. So just trying to find ways to keep those sorts of things as normal as possible. But obviously when, you know, the whole sports landscape gets wiped out for a while, it's a different reality, and we're just all kind of starting to settle into what it feels like.
This is Jenni Carlson. You can find her work on Oklahoman.com and, of course, in the Oklahoman as well, and social media channels. Jenni, thank you for your time. Please stay safe.
Yeah, you too, Dave. Thanks.